The silence in the suburban living room was heavy, thick enough to taste. Outside, a gentle rain tapped against the windowpane, a rhythmic, haunting sound that mimicked a ticking clock. But inside, time had stopped. On the floor lay a body, still warm yet devoid of the spark of life. The killer had been meticulous. No forced entry. No DNA. No weapon left behind. They thought they had committed the perfect crime, scrubbing the scene of every physical trace. What they forgot, however, was that while you can wipe away blood and hide a blade, you cannot erase time itself. A single, digital footprint, a mere 3-minute discrepancy in a routine evening, was about to turn a perfect alibi into a death warrant. This is the story of how the most complex web of lies was unraveled by the simplest of tools: a timeline. The setting was the affluent neighborhood of Silver Oaks, a place where the grass is always perfectly manicured and the secrets are buried deep behind mahogany doors. Our victim, Eleanor Vance, was a woman of habit. A respected high school principal, she was known for her punctuality and her unwavering kindness. She lived a quiet life, or so it seemed to her neighbors. On the surface, Eleanor had no enemies. But as any investigator will tell you, the most dangerous people are often those who sit at your dinner table. Enter Marcus Thorne, Eleanor's husband of 15 years. A charismatic software engineer with a penchant for expensive watches and a temper that he kept tightly coiled beneath a veneer of professional success. To the world, they were the golden couple. To those who looked closer, the cracks were starting to show. Deaths were mounting, whispers of an affair were circulating in the shadows, and a life insurance policy worth $2 million sat quietly in a safe, waiting for a tragedy to activate it. It was a Tuesday evening, October 14th. The air was crisp, and the sun dipped below the horizon at exactly 6:12 p.m. Eleanor had just returned from a faculty meeting. She sent a text to her sister at 6:45 p.m. Home now, exhausted, talk tomorrow. That was the last time anyone heard from her alive. According to Marcus, he was at his office 40 miles away, logged into a remote server, working on a high-stakes project, until nearly midnight. He claimed he arrived home at 12:30 a.m. to find the front door ajar and his wife lifeless on the floor. He called 911 at 12:32 a.m., his voice trembling with a mix of horror and disbelief that sounded almost too perfect. When the first responders arrived, they found Marcus kneeling by Eleanor's side. The scene was clinical. Eleanor had been strangled with a thin, strong cord, likely a garrote or a piece of heavy-duty fishing line. There were no signs of a struggle, no defensive wounds under her fingernails, suggesting she had been attacked from behind by someone she trusted, someone who didn't trigger her internal alarm. Lead Detective Sarah Miller arrived on the scene at 1:15 a.m. She noticed something immediately: the thermostat. It was set to 60 degrees, unusually cold for an October night. It was a classic trick to slow down the cooling of a body and confuse the time of death estimation. Marcus was taken to the station for questioning. He was the picture of a grieving widower. He provided his login credentials for the office server, his toll road receipts, and even GPS data from his car. Everything seemed to align. He left the office at 11:40 p.m., arrived at 12:30 a.m. The drive usually took 50 minutes. The math was solid. But Detective Miller was a woman who obsessed over the seconds. She began to reconstruct the evening, minute by minute, second by second. She looked at Eleanor's smart home system. At 7:02 p.m., the smart fridge had been opened. At 7:15 p.m., the television in the bedroom was turned on to a news channel Eleanor never watched. Then, at 8:30 p.m., the garage door sensor registered a phantom opening. Marcus's office logs showed he was active during these times, typing away, moving files. It seemed an airtight alibi. However, the digital forensics team discovered a microscopic anomaly. The keystroke patterns between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. were repetitive, almost mechanical. It was a script, a simple piece of code designed to mimic human activity on a keyboard. Marcus, the brilliant software engineer, had automated his own presence at work. While his computer worked 40 miles away, Marcus was actually speeding back to Silver Oaks in a rental car he had hidden weeks prior. The investigation then pivoted to the physical timeline of the drive. Miller drove the route herself, dozens of times under various conditions. She discovered that even with a rental car and speeding, Marcus would have been tight on time. Then came the breakthrough. A neighbor's doorbell camera, 3 blocks away, caught a dark sedan, not Marcus's luxury, SUV speeding toward the Vance residence at 6:58 p.m. It left the area at 8:34 p.m. This narrowed the window of the murder to a 90-minute block. But Marcus S. office badge showed him entering the building at 4 o'clock p.m. and never leaving until 11:40 p.m. How could he be in two places at once? The answer lay in the service elevator. A maintenance worker mentioned a glitch where the side exit door near the service elevator would occasionally fail to lock if a small piece of tape was placed over the latch. Miller found the residue of that tape. Marcus had clocked in, slipped out the side door, drove the rental car to his home, committed the act, and drove back to leave work officially at midnight. He thought he had accounted for everything. He had even moved Eleanor's body to different rooms to simulate her moving around the house in case anyone looked through the windows. But he made one fatal error. At 7:42 p.m., Eleanor's fitness tracker recorded a sudden massive spike in heart rate followed by a complete drop to zero. At that exact moment, the smart thermostat in the house was adjusted. Marcus had reached out to turn the dial, but his phone, the one he claimed was sitting on his desk at work, briefly pinged the home Wi-Fi network. It was a connection that lasted only 4 seconds. A handshake between the device and the router. That 4-second window shattered the 40-mile distance. The simple timeline Miller built showed that Marcus had lied about his location for the most critical hour of the night. When confronted with the Wi-Fi ping and the automated keystroke script, Marcus's composure didn't just crack. It shattered. He realized that in the world of modern technology, there is no such thing as a clean getaway. He was charged with first-degree murder. The trial was a media sensation, a cautionary tale of how brilliance can be blinded by arrogance. Marcus Thorne was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Eleanor's family finally found a semblance of peace, though the house in Silver Oaks remains empty. A silent monument to a life stolen by a man who thought he could outrun the clock. The case of Eleanor Vance reminds us that the truth isn't always found in a drop of blood or a smoking gun. Sometimes it's hidden in the quiet, mundane moments. The flick of a switch, the ping of a router, or the 3-minute gap in an alibi that seems too good to be true. In the end, the killer didn't lose because he wasn't smart enough. He lost because he forgot that time is the one witness you can never silence. Every shadow has a duration, and every lie has a shelf life. As the rain continues to fall over the quiet streets of Silver Oaks, one can't help but wonder, how many other perfect crimes are currently being undone by a single, overlooked second? The digital world keeps a ledger of our lives, recording our movements and our sins with cold, impartial precision. You can hide from the police, you can hide from your conscience, but you can never hide from the timeline. It is the ultimate narrator, telling the story of what we did when we thought no one was watching. And in this case, the story it told led straight to a cell. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the darkness of the human psyche on Midnight Crime Vault. This case proves that no matter how complex the plan, the simplest truth always finds its way to the light. But it leaves us with a haunting thought. If Marcus hadn't used that smart thermostat, would he have walked free? What do you think was his biggest mistake? Let us know your theories in the comments below. If you found this case as chilling as we did, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to join our community of investigators. Your support helps us bring these forgotten stories back to the surface. Until next time, stay vigilant, because the truth is often closer and darker than it appears. Would you like me to analyze another cold case, or perhaps focus on a specific forensic technique for the next episode? Stay tuned to Midnight Crime Vault.